Welcome back to the Be a Man podcast, where we encourage men to be better men. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the Be a Man podcast. I appreciate you being here tonight, this morning, today, whenever you're listening. I greatly appreciate the opportunity and am humbled by it to bring you a new interview with Jake from the White House on the Hill. It's a very popular YouTube channel about homesteading, about their different animals, about family life. And I think you're really going to enjoy this conversation. We get into a little bit of all of it. We get into his story, what drives him, what drives his family, what they are working on right now, and just how things have changed coming from a more city background to more of a country homesteading background, and all the opportunities there are there, and the lessons that are learned, and this concept of perseverance when things are challenging, and pursuing your goals. All these things we get into on this episode, and I think you're really going to enjoy it. So with that, let's get into it. All right, welcome to the podcast. I'm really glad you're here. Why don't you introduce yourself for those who don't know who you are?
Sure, I am. I'm glad I'm here too. I'm Jake. I'm from, I guess our social media is White House on the Hill. And we've got a little family here in Northwest Missouri. We've got my wife, Becky, and then we've got 4 kids. I almost said 4 boys, but I think we were thinking we were going to have 4 boys after we had 3 boys. And we were blessed with a little girl. So we have Eli, who's 9. We have Uriah, who's 7. We have Isaiah, who is 3, and we have Isabella, who is 1. And we've got a little farm in Northwest Missouri, and we just share about our adventures on YouTube and different social media.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you guys have a pretty unique story about moving and starting to farm and that sort of stuff. Like, just share a little bit about that.
Yeah, I don't know how far back to go, but we've been married. Well, let's go back to college days. Becky and I met in 2002. I've heard a little bit of this podcast, and so I know we might get into some spiritual talk potentially. But we met at Campus Crusade. We met at Campus Crusade for Christ at Missouri Western in St. Joseph, Missouri, and 4 years later, we got married, and then we moved to Kansas City, and then we lived there for about 10 years, and we were living in this city in Kansas City. I was working. I got 4 or 5 jobs at one point where I was working 6 a.m. all the way till like midnight. Some weekends I would work I worked 3 jobs one weekend, like back to back to back, and then did it all again like 3 days in a row. And so I was working a ton. Becky started switching from her job to being a nanny, so she could watch our kids when we started having kids, and then eventually became a stay-at-home mom. And so I was working more so she could be home with the kids, but then I wasn't getting to be at home at all. And then at that point we were saying, or at least I was saying, something's got to change, because I really want to. I don't want to just work to live. I really want to be here with my family and get to grow up with them, see my boys grow up at the time, the 2 boys we had. And so we sold our house, and we'd been trying to sell our house for about 9 or 10 years at that time. It was after 2008. It was right about the time we were trying to sell it, and that was right when the market crashed. And so it took all the way till 2015 to when we finally sold it. And then we started over again, and we just said, okay, that wasn't working the way that we originally planned it. Just working jobs just to pay off our mortgage, just so I can see my kids a couple times throughout, at night. And I'd really like to be at home with them. And so initially I was just working some jobs, either seasonal jobs, or I was working as a alarm technician, where I was driving to do a job, and then I would come home and then I started, when we got onto this farm, we started renting, not on this farm, but we started renting on a small farm, and we got some chickens. And that kind of changed everything for us. When we did the chickens, we had to figure out how to keep them alive. And so we looked up how to raise chickens on YouTube, and we started finding these families that were doing this thing called homesteading, where they were raising their own food. They were at home with their families. They looked really happy to me. And it was all of a sudden that became my new goal of like, I don't know if I can do this full time, but if I could at least do that part time, that looks really fun. And so that's how we started on this little rental property on a farm. We just started raising animals. We started filming it for YouTube and social media, and started out kind of rough, just doing it as a hobby. And then after about a year and a half, it got to a point where it was making more than my other part-time jobs, my seasonal jobs, to where I was able to say, you know what, I can walk away from those. We're really weren't making that much money at the time, and so it didn't take too much to where I was able to walk away from that and just start doing the White House on the Hill thing full time. And so that was in 2000. We started the channel in 2017. 2018, I went full time in it, and so it's been four or 5 years now that's all we've been doing. And then about 3 years ago, we were able to move to our own farm, and then now the sky's the limit. We're able to dream big, and whatever we can think up, we can figure out a way. We're making a really big aviary on our farm, and we've got all these dreams and goals for different things we want to accomplish here. But I think the funnest part, and that's probably what we'll get into here, is that finally, after probably 5, 6, 7 years of raising our kids and me working all the time, that I'm actually able to be at home. They homeschool, so they're here all the time. Becky's here all the time. And then I work from home. And so everything is cohesively together. We do the farm chores and the farm work. And then today was like a filming day where we were working on our chores, but we were making a video and then just running from one thing to the next. The kids and mom are off to Awana's tonight at church. And then I ran home to do this. So it's just become this thing that now it's just part of what we do, is that we're all together doing everything, all the farm stuff.
Dude, that's awesome. Yeah, there's so many questions I have now, because that's an awesome story. And I think it just, I told you before we started recording, my wife's kind of followed you guys from the beginning. I don't know how she found or whatever, but we've been following for a long time. And she loves the interaction. I think it actually, we have 4 kids too. So we've got one who's almost a teenager. She'll be a teenager here in 2 weeks. So that's going to be, there's lots of new challenges there, but 9-year-old boy, a 5-year-old girl, and then a 2-year-old boy. And I want to say she started watching you guys when she was pregnant with the 5-year-old, because she would be up, she had insomnia, and when she was pregnant with that one. And so she's always been into these animal videos and different things like that. And I have a bent towards the homesteading stuff. So she started watching that sort of stuff. So then she found you guys. She's like, oh, this is really cool. Can we get some chickens and all this? I'm like, I don't know if we can do that yet, but we're working our way there. But my 9-year-old would be very upset with me if I didn't ask you what kind of animals you guys have.
Okay. I almost have to look at my Instagram bio or something to remember them all, but I think we've got chickens, we've got ducks, we've got turkeys, then we got peafowl, then we have red golden pheasants, we got mandarin ducks, so they're like a waterfowl. Let's see, I'm gonna have to start going around to thinking different cages, where different coops and stuff. Let's see, we've got emus, we've got pigs, we've got our milk cows, we've got quail, we've got little button quail. Might be forgetting 1 or 2 in there, but that's 10, 11 different things. We've got our cats, we've got our barn cats, and we've got our farm dog, Joey.
Yeah, we joke. That's cool. He's big into animals and different things. There's not an animal he's met that he has not made friends with. So he's really all about it, him and his mom. And we're starting to get into some of that. We started with the bearded dragon to kind of give him some responsibility and let him take care of something. And then his sister's got a rabbit now. We're doing 4-H stuff, and we're starting. She's working a lot with horses now too. So we're starting to kind of get into that route. But from your side of things, this is my question is, like, you were doing the normal American working hard city life, and then you move to the country and you take on some things that in a lot of people's eyes is like a step back. We live in this more postmodern world right now that kind of views that stuff as ancient, old, but it looks like there was a switch, like mentally, and something that was very satisfying for you when you guys made that switch. Am I onto something there?
Yeah, we basically said I'd rather be poor and have no money and get to see my kids grow up than just work to pay off our mortgage and cars. And so there was a point when we said, you know what, our family is more important than stuff. And so that's when we kind of traded everything. We said, let's get out of debt. Let's sell our house. We paid off our cars. We paid off our student loans. So then when we went to this cheap rental property, we could work just a little bit if we had to. We tried to work beyond that so we could start to save, because it was some seasonal work that I was doing. And so I would work like half the year. And then when I started the YouTube thing, I could go at it harder. And so I really treated the YouTube thing like a full-time job when I just started out with it. So I could figure it out faster. I think a lot of people start at it slower and ease into it, and they're not sure, if it doesn't work, it's okay. It's not a big deal. It's just my little hobby. And so I treated it because I had some, ran my own business in the past before. And so I kind of knew about running a business and that you're going to have a lot of years to get to like cash flow positive. And so I knew there'd take some years to get it going in the right direction. And so if I just worked really hard, I see other people doing it, certainly I can figure it out. And so, but that was the main thing, was how can we be at home with our family? We don't need stuff. And then, really it worked out amazingly, but at the time, it felt like forever, to at least to where I could feel like it was providing a little bit of reward for the work we were doing. But yeah, that's kind of two different directions. I know the question you're more asking is what was the change, and really it was just that we traded all these jobs we were working for time with our family is really what we wanted.
Yeah, I respect that wholeheartedly. We homeschool as well, and I understand there's just something that you gain there that it's just different. There's advantages, disadvantages either way, but I have found that the advantages far outweigh the disadvantages, at least in our family, and it sounds like in yours as well. So as the man, as the husband, as the father, I would have to imagine there was a bit of anxiety making that transition. There was a bit of, is this really going to work? Where did faith, where did perseverance, I get into discipline a lot on here, where did those things factor into those decision processes?
Well, it honestly, it wasn't, I made some decisions along the way to try to cut back on jobs. And so I had all these like part-time jobs that I could fall back on. And so these like alarm jobs, and then I was working like security for like at Chiefs games, and then at Sprint Center, and then some work at the Royals. And so I was doing things that I wanted to be around, like sports jobs. And so I was doing these different things and then doing all these part-time jobs. And so they were enough to provide, let's see, none of them were providing benefits. And so, but we were, that was a thing we had to figure out. But so there were some challenges with taking away a full-time job with benefits, things like that. But it honestly, it was not that hard, because it was a further distance. We moved about an hour north of Kansas City. And so I would have had to drive an hour every day into the city to go to that job. And so we were like, you know what, if I can just drive around and do these different jobs, at least I'm a little more free. And then when I started the YouTube thing, it changed the dynamic, certainly, because I had to have Becky do some, like she would help film a lot on days that I had to work. And so she would do that some, and then I would edit in my spare time, wherever that was. And then, so basically we just kind of traded out things so I could be at home more. And then as the YouTube thing picked up more, then I was able to cut back on certain jobs. So certainly it was nerve-wracking, but I think we made our situation really affordable living. So we had no debt, so that we just had to pay for our rental, and it was a pretty cheap rental, to where, you know, we just had to make a little bit of money each month to figure that part out. And then everything else was just like, okay, let's see if we can grow the rest of it so we can be home more full time beyond that. So yeah, there were some scary moments, but I think at that time it was just more of a relief to be free from all of the debt. To get out of all the debt just felt like, you know, so much weight off my back that it actually was more freeing than anything.
Sure. Yeah, I bet. So I mean, as you said, you have 3 boys. So what are some of the opportunities you have now? Some of those characteristics of manhood that, you know, I get into, others get into, that you get to kind of build into them now, in this unique opportunity they get to live out and see. And I mean, it's not the current American dream. It's what it was several years ago in our past. And I think a lot of people are starting to find this again. They're like, it's pretty cool to work with my hands. It's pretty cool to, you know, raise a lot of my own food. It's pretty cool to teach my boys how to do these hands-on things that I think there's been a few generations here that it's been lost on. I mean, do you see those as opportunities with your boys, especially?
Yeah, it's a great question, because I haven't done a great job. They are with us every step of the way, but I haven't done a great job, and maybe it's because of just they've been younger, but they're there with us. But Becky's always reminding me, you know, hey, when you go out and build something, when I've got to build a project, you know, take Eli with you and show him what to do. And he's been showing more interest now at 9 years old, that he wants to do that. And in the past I would just build, and then they would grab some little scrap boards, and then they would make something on their own. Yeah. And so we just did something the other day that he came on, and then I showed him what to do, and then he did it. And when we're working on this aviary, we're putting in these big metal fence pieces, and Becky and I can't do it just by ourselves. And so if we didn't have him, I don't know how we would do it. And so he's just strong enough to where he can be the third person to help us lift these fence pieces and put them into place. And so we need that third person there. And then our daily chores, we go out, and some days the kids will come on the warmer weather days, they'll come out. Now it's starting to get into colder weather, and so a lot of times they're having to stay in. But they're there with us. Either they'll do the night chores or they'll do part of the morning chores. And so they do all of that with us. It's a different life, even for us, because we didn't grow up doing this. I grew up in this city. Becky grew up in the country, and so she had some animals growing up, but I didn't live like this. And so this has been super new for me the last 4 or 5 years. And so I'm still almost just getting used to it. And then now my boys that's all they've ever really known. They don't even remember life in the city when they were like 2 and 4. And so now this is all they know. And so it's going to be interesting to see as time goes on, is, you know, what do they think about this? Because this is all they know. We have a lot of people that watch our channel, and they will say, I love seeing your kids out there working with you guys, because my kids are inside on an iPad looking at a screen all day or something. And our kids love devices too. We keep all of our old phones and stuff around, and so they just will grab them and start using them. But I'm super grateful that they have an outlet to come outside with us, and even just be able to, they're running around. Like this morning, they were running around playing while we were out milking the cow. And so they're right there where we can see them while we're doing this. And so, yeah, we're just kind of on the cusp of being able to work with them. I know we're feeding into them, this mentality of, hard work and will pay off, and they're a part of what we do. But I think we're just starting to get into like the next level as Eli starts understanding more, to where we can start getting into more of like the thought process behind what we do versus just, mom and dad are going to milk the cow, or I've got to go grab the eggs or something like that. So we're starting to get to like that next level here, just kind of this year and maybe in the next coming couple years.
Yeah, that's exciting. Yeah, it'll be fun to see how their, views on all those different things, are formulated and change and that sort of thing. So I heard you talk about how your kids are going to Awana. So
yeah,
how has faith played a factor into what you guys do? What drives you in that area?
Well, ironically, it's not something we talk about a lot. Like on our channel, we haven't talked about faith at all. It's really, our channel has just been our family and our animals. And so we haven't really felt a calling to make it a part of it. And I think a lot of people have been suspecting like, hey, you guys seem like you're Christians to me, but I'm not sure. Just wanted to ask you, and so we'll get those questions from time to time. And we appreciate it when they see something about us that looks like we're, good people, that maybe we are God believers. And but it is a very big part of why we would do what we do. Homesteading itself is it's very isolating, and so just to understand like your role in the world, just in your own little world, and then just to have an appreciation for what we've been provided, because a lot of people they'll see our channel and they'll think we're just animal lovers, which we are, but we also raise animals for food. And so to take a life is not easy. And so just to know that, God provided this for us, and so to nourish our bodies. And so that's definitely a big part of what we do. We're part of a small group at our church. And so that's a big help in, it's something where we get together each week, and then we'll talk about our marriage. We'll talk about raising kids. And so that's been a huge blessing, just to have some outlet for that, or people to bounce ideas off, or people that are a few years further down the road than us. We can kind of see what's worked or hasn't worked for them as far as being a parent, and just to not let our marriage slip, that we don't, even though we're here all the time with each other, that we're paying attention, and we're paying attention to these moments when we can, just walking by. Becky walked by me this morning or something, and I had to run real quick, but she just walked by me and gave me a hug or something right before. And we don't usually do that. We're not very PDA type people. And so it just caught me off guard, and I'm just like, I got to remember to, show affection and my appreciation for them. But those faith is a big thing in what we do and what we're about. And we want to instill that in our kids for sure.
Yeah. One of the things I like asking a lot of times is what drives people, what motivates them to do what they do. And I can hear that's part of it, that part of, what you guys are doing. It's coming out, whether you realize it or not. Like, I can hear it, and it's driving and helping drive, all that you guys are saying here, these principles. I mean, I can see it that a lot of these come from more faith-based topics and things that we learn in the scriptures, and this trusting and having a respect for those things that you're growing. And ultimately, I think in our culture, in our world right now, we don't see a lot of that because it just shows up at the grocery store. And I think there's a whole other respect for when you have to put in some work and grow, plant, all those types of things that you guys are doing right now. It's just there's a respect there, and I think it's enticing to people because they don't live that. Most people don't live that in that world. Was that weird for you coming from more of a city background? Is that something that you had
for
to
sure?
Really...
I mean, the first time you butcher a chicken or something, you're like, oh my God, I feel like police are going to show up at my doorstep. Like, I've killed something, and you just feel so awful. And just, as you do it, the more you do it, it doesn't get easier, but you start to understand our place in this world and why these animals are here. And we just get so much, we just feel so rewarded to be able to put food on our plates, that on our dinner table, that we grew. We know what went into it. And so we grew the last maybe 3 out of the last 5 years, we've grown turkeys for us and for some other families. And so that's always been, Thanksgiving feels so good because we're putting food on like 10 different families' plates. And
Cool.
and then be able to, drink the milk that we went out and got from our cow, and or cook up eggs from our chickens and stuff. It's just super rewarding. And so I can't remember where that question started, but it's become part of what we do. And I can't imagine not doing it now, but thinking back to, I don't know, 6 years ago or something, I never would have, I thought we were going to get a few chickens and that was going to be it. And we just opened our eyes to this whole other world that we've just fallen in love with. And whether we did, our goal is not to do social media, to do YouTube forever. We would love to just be able to live out in peace in the country and just enjoy this life, this world with our family. And so it's all been a blessing to us, but we really enjoy just what we've gotten to learn through doing this homesteading thing.
Definitely. Yeah. I think what I'm hearing you say is you guys embraced a challenge, and I think men in particular need a challenge. I think that's something that's kind of lacking, and I think that's why we see a lot of men falling into different vices and temptations now, is because they're not challenged on a regular basis. So what are some ways that men in particular can embrace challenge? Like, I'm looking at the essence of manhood here. Like, what makes a man in that way in your mind?
Yeah, I think I heard on the talk you had with it was the Hall of Fame Fatherhood. I think you were talking a little bit on that one about guys being lazy or sitting around and not having a goal or something like that. And I hadn't thought about that in a long time. I definitely when I was in my previous life of just working a job and then coming home, those were like two separate things, where you worked, you got paid, and then you came home, you saw your family for a few hours, you went to bed, and then you did it again. And so it was like this cycle that you weren't super motivated to go above and beyond at work because there was no reward beyond your paycheck. And then you'd come home, and then you're just taking those few hours just to like get reacquainted with everybody at home. Like, I haven't seen them all day. I get a few hours with them. And so for guys that live that life, there's so much more if you can find that place. And I don't know exactly what it is. It's not, you don't have to do YouTube. You don't have to necessarily start a business, but finding something that motivates you. Because right now I can't even think, like, I'll get maybe an hour at the very end of the night where Becky and I, after the kids go to bed, that we'll chill out on the couch and we'll just kind of settle down from the day, decompress a little bit. But like today was like going from one thing to the next, to working on our farm, to making a video. We need to get something done there. And so it was like, I just keep thinking about the next thing that needs to get done. And then this evening, like we ran to the vet and then came home. Becky took the boys. And then after this is over, I'm going to go do the night chores and get everybody put away. And then I'll come in, there might be some dishes to do or something. And then the family will be back home, and then we'll hang out a little bit before they go to bed. And so there's not that downtime that I used to have. Like we just keep doing what I feel like we're supposed to be doing. There's days when we have a little bit more downtime, especially going into winter. It's hard to do a lot of things outside. We can't work in the garden. It's harder to build things. And so there's definitely some downtime there to think about where we're at, what we're doing, and just hang out a little bit. But I'd say we're so motivated to develop our property, to grow our channel, to, there's something we need to be doing each day. And so there's So there's just a lot of responsibilities. And then just being like a business owner, you've got all those other things you've got to take care of. Like, I feel like I'm dealing with like taxes and insurance and all those different things a little bit each day. And so there's not that big moment of like, I can just hang out and play video games, which I think you were going to ask something about, like my hobbies, something like that. And that's a big hobby, I guess, of mine that I don't even get to do is video games. And so once in a while, like I'll watch somebody, and we have a small house. We have a really small house. And so we don't have space for any of that. And so like, if I watch, somebody for like 5 or 10 minutes a day playing a video game or something like that, that's about all I get of it, just to feed that little, I get to like live this other life for a few minutes. But really, it's like, I think we're just very motivated on what we're doing. We know we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. For the first time in my life, I knew back when I was in my 20s, I was working as a 911 operator, and it was crazy and exciting, and it was really different. But I just kept feeling like, I don't feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I feel like there's something more in my life, or that I'm being called to do. And I still don't even know, if this is ultimately what we're going to do with our lives. But I feel like we finally found the thing that we're good at, that we enjoy. And so that's what I would say to somebody that either is unmotivated or wants to provide more for their family, or they want to have, set some goals for themselves, is to keep, if they don't feel like they've found the thing that they're supposed to do, that they need to keep looking and figure that thing out. And it took me a long time, and like 10, 12 part-time jobs, selling our house, moving to the country, buying chickens, and then got on YouTube, and wow, it just like smacked me in the face of like, that's what I should be doing. And it's not going to be like that for everybody, but it took a long time to figure that out. Yeah. And so when you figure out that thing that you're passionate about, like I love hatching out birds. I love building things now. I never built anything. I'm teaching myself electrical and different things I do put solar on every new building we build. And so all these little things are like fun little side projects that we do, but it just makes it so exciting to be able to do something different every day, and to just be building something together with our family, since they're all here with us. And so that's what I would hope everybody gets a chance to do, the thing that they're meant to do and that they love to do. And then they get to spend more time with their family because of it. That's what I would hope people are able to find.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's really cool. And man, the word that keeps popping in my head is perseverance. Like you persevered through a lot to get to where you are, and you're reaping, the benefits, but I don't mean that as in like everything's just rosy now. I mean, you obviously, like you're talking there, it's a lot of hard work. But I think that's what God created men to do, is work hard, to do the hard work. And it's really cool to hear and watch, because we get to literally watch a lot of your guys' story and how this has developed, and how, these challenges that present themselves, but then you overcome those challenges. And it's just really cool to watch how this is playing out before our eyes, and ultimately before your eyes. And I think your challenge there for guys to just keep looking, keep searching, keep finding what that thing is, because I just think we have a lot of men now who are running through life and don't really know for what purpose. I mean, a lot of guys, it's just that next like little thing of happiness, but it doesn't last. You know what I mean? And they're really searching for that thing. And so many just give in to whatever vice, whatever temptation. And it's very rare to find somebody who has a plan and has a purpose. And I've been trying to stress, we work with a lot of teenagers, and my wife and I, and we've got a kid now who is, he knows what he wants to do. He's going to graduate mid-year. He wants to go to some world famous welding school out in Wyoming. and that's what he wants to do, and he knows exactly what he wants to do. But I'm like, man, this is so rare. It's just so rare to find somebody who knows what they want to do and pursue that path. But it's also cool because he knows what it's going to require, and he knows the hard work it's going to put in and how rewarding it will be on the other side. And it's just, it's really cool to hear you talk about these things, because you put in the work, you do what it takes, and you're going to reap the benefits in the end. Am I right?
I hope so.
Well, I think
we're on the right. I think we're on the right path, and we're trying. You know, we're trying. We're trying to figure out this, you know, this parenting thing every day, and
yeah,
you know, we hope that we show them, you know, that hard work pays off, and you know, I think it's going to be a little weird for them, because I think of like you going to college, and right now they're so far from, you know, even being in a classroom type setting. So, and then seeing the types of jobs that are out there. And so we hope to expose them to a lot of those things, so they are well versed and they can make their own decision, and they don't have to just fall back on growing up on a farm or raising their family on a farm, that they can kind of pick and choose what they want to do, and they can feel like, because that's what I did for a long time, was that I tried out a lot of jobs by picking up all these side jobs along with my main job, and I kept trying like valet and soccer ref and security, and then alarm systems, and then delivery for like a breakfast service, and then just trying all these little things to see, you know, what in the world I want to do with my life. And so I'm hoping that we expose them to enough things that, you know, we don't want to just protect them here in this little bubble, even though we do, but we want to send them out into the world prepared at some point to where they can make good choices, and they can feel like they can take on anything, or they can do whatever they want. That's all I really want them to feel like, is that they can do whatever they want. And so I'm hoping that just seeing us live this whole kind of weird experiment, that they'll pick up some of that they'll think about, or they'll come across something and they'll say, hey, you know what, that welding thing in Wyoming, that I've never done that, but I want to learn more about that. Or they'll come across something that they are passionate about as we are about this.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah. So let me switch gears with you here. So holidays are coming up. Christmas, you talked a little bit about Thanksgiving, how you guys have been able to bless some other families, but Christmas is coming up. What kind of traditions, what kind of cool stuff do you guys do for the holidays?
Thanksgiving is I think my favorite holiday of the year, because I just have no responsibilities that day. And so it's like the one day I just get to check out. We have tons of family. We'll get together. My wife's family, they'll get together on that day, and the kids will all be playing, and I'll hang out with a lot of the dads, and we'll watch football and just get to eat food. I mean, there is not a better day than that. And so that day is incredible. Christmas, so traditions, there's a whole, you know, just there's always kind of a routine about it each year, from going to like Christmas Eve service to maybe opening a gift on Christmas Eve to we'll open our family's gifts on Christmas, and then usually we're going to one of our families, either her family or my family, on Christmas. I think we're doing her family like the week before, because they come in from out of town, and then my family is going to be the week after. So always trying to, you know, I don't know at what point you get to be your own family and host your own thing, but because I always feel like we're still having to go to these different families. Someday I feel like we'll get to just hang out and enjoy Christmas, because I feel like we're always running different places. But yeah, it's one of those things where I still feel like we're figuring out how to do the whole Christmas thing, how to teach the right lessons of what it's the reason for Christmas. And usually we try to go, our church will do like bell ringing for Salvation Army or something like that, where we'll go take some presents to like a family in need. So we'll go try to do some different things so they understand it's not just about the toys. And then at some point it's about the toys, and and they get rewarded, but we just try to give them a little bit of an experience of for them and for us, because I haven't done that my whole life either. And so just getting to remember that there's people out there that aren't getting to that don't get to hang out with their family, or don't have the means to really enjoy the day, or maybe don't have a house or whatever. And so that's what we try to, that's part of it. And then just getting to spend a lot of time with family. Usually the last couple of weeks of the year are usually spending a lot of time with all of our siblings. All Becky's family will come in from out of town, and so that's usually the kind of the big get together for the year.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I just enjoy hearing people's traditions. They're all different. We've been trying to figure out that whole balance thing too. I think last year, because we'll go see my wife's family for Thanksgiving, and then usually mine for Christmas. And one is about 4 hours, one is about 2. But last year was different. We had a Christmas thing for the community at our church, and we ended up getting COVID from it. And so, and we got hit pretty hard. And, with the 4 kids, it worked its way through all of us. So it was kind of our first Christmas doing nothing. And because we were stuck at home, first Christmas Eve service doing nothing, and we're just stuck at home. It was weird. I mean, really weird. But then the day after, I'm like, this was kind of nice. Like, the kids just played with their new toys, and we just watched Christmas shows about all day, and it was pretty nice. So this year we're like, I think we're just gonna go see family the day after now. I'm like, my wife's all about it, and the kids are like, okay, we'll get more presents. That's fine. Did
I hear you're a pastor too? Are you a pastor?
Yeah.
So did you do it from home, or did somebody fill in for you on Christmas?
So,
or Christmas Eve or something like that.
So Christmas Eve, somebody filled in for me. Christmas Day, or whatever that Sunday was around then, I had recorded one. First 5 days of getting it, I was fine. And so I was, doing my own thing. I recorded one for the service, that sort of thing, because I'd been going through kind of a little Christmas series. But then, like that 6th day, it hit me, and it hit me hard. And so the worst part, I joke about it now because it's, long gone, but I joke about my wife had bought a turkey for Christmas, and she'd bought me a smoker for my birthday. So I was smoking the turkey, and so I've got it out there. I mean, this thing, I had smoked it about all day. It's juicy, all that good stuff that you want, the brown crust that I love. And about an hour before I knew it was about done, my taste and smell started going. And I'm like, this is bad. I look at my wife, I'm like, this isn't right. This is bad. This is bad. So I go out there, I pull the turkey off, couldn't taste any of it. My kids are over there like, Dad, this is the best thing ever. My son's like, he loves the leg for whatever reason. That's what he wants every time. He's like, Dad, this is so juicy. It's so awesome. And I'm like, I can't taste any of it. It was horrible. It was awful, man. Yeah. But so hopefully this year will be a little better memories. I don't think we'll forget that one ever, but hopefully this year goes a little better. Yeah.
I think this year doesn't Christmas, I think, lands on a Sunday, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Or was that last year?
Yeah. This year,
December. It's on Sunday. So, okay.
Yeah. So for a pastor, I like it, just because it's kind of why we're doing what we're doing. Beyond Easter, it's kind of, one of the more favorite holidays I have. And it's, but there's also that challenge of, like, especially with our kids, when it was just one, it wasn't that big of a deal. But with 4, like, it's a whole big, ordeal to opening gifts and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, do we do it before? Do we do it after the service? I mean, it's all these different things. My wife and I have been starting to talk about it, but I'm like, I don't know what we're going to do, because I know they're not going to want to wait, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah, it's going to be a long day. That's true.
Yeah. So it'll be fun. I enjoy Christmas. That's this whole time of year. Thanksgiving too, I enjoy a lot. Just memories, growing up, going. my dad and I would go hunting in the morning on Thanksgiving, then we come home and everything be ready, you know, and just cool traditions and family time that, and truthfully, in my particular role, this time of year can get really hard and really long. And it can feel much more like a chore. There's been several years where I've just wanted January to come around, but this year I've been challenged and much more purposeful in how I'm planning out the rest of this year so that it doesn't feel like that. So I mean, I've been working my butt off to get stuff ready ahead of time and do all those things, because I think, like you're talking about how your oldest is starting to get more involved and do more things, and like the kids are always watching. I mean, they're always, you know, they see what's going on with dad. They may not understand it all, but they're seeing it, and they see much more how we act than what we say. And they're starting to pick up on things. And I'm really, you know, trying to be more purposeful this year to really enjoy this Christmas season, because in many ways last year it was kind of ruined for them with the COVID stuff. And so this year I think that's extra motivation. I think that I really just want to make the most of it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Hey,
I was going to say our season, we kind of have two busy seasons. One's like May. May's really busy on a farm just because everything's hatching. Chicks are getting sent out. We have bees. We raise bees. And so if we are getting any packages of bees or anything like that, I'm usually doing that around May. And so May can be a super busy time when I'm grabbing everything. And then I'm kind of lucky the way I do our videos, where I'm not trying to put them out every day or every few days, where I'll collect all of that footage, and then I'll, like, once a week I'll start to tell each of those stories over May, June, July, and some of it even stretched to October, I think, with some of our hatching and stuff we did with like our Mandarin ducks. And so that May season is super busy. And so that's where I've really got to pay attention to not letting things slip through the cracks, or not pay attention to the family, to the kids, making sure everybody's getting to be a part of everything, and then be a part of it. And then now it starts to get into downtime as it gets colder out, but we're still really busy. And then as far as having like a job on YouTube, like ads pay better at the end of the year. Like advertisers want to pay, or will have to pay more, like through November, December, and then companies that sponsor videos and stuff, they're super busy and into wanting to be in our videos and stuff this time of year. And so those are really, once January hits as well, I agree. It's bad because money starts to go down. Everybody pays less January, February, March. But things get a lot slower after the holidays. And so, just trying to be there for the family, but then also take care of our responsibilities, knowing, there's going to be a time when we can spend more time together, but sometimes it's tough getting through this time of the year, just with how busy everything is.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah. So I've really enjoyed this conversation. I don't want to keep you all night. I know you said you have nighttime chores and all that kind of stuff you got to get done, but where can people find I know where to find it, but where can others find your content?
Just look up White House on the Hill, whatever platform you like being on. If you're on Facebook, we put out a lot of our older content on Facebook. On Instagram, I'll put out reels every so often on Instagram. So White House on the Hill on there. And then on YouTube we'll put out a video usually about the end of each week. So you'll see the newest thing that we're doing on there. And then, I guess that's probably about it.
Cool. Yeah, I'll put all that in the description and stuff too, so people can go check it out. And I think they'll really enjoy it. Hearing about how you are very family minded, very goal minded. I think people are going to really enjoy that and connect with it. And I think that's why they like your guys' videos and things you guys put out, because I know it's been encouraging to our family as well. But I want to give you the final word. Is there any challenge? Is there any kind of final message you want to just shout out there to the men watching this tonight?
Ooh, this is like a Hot One. You ever watch Hot Ones?
Yeah.
Where they eat
Yeah.
the hot wings. So when they get to the very end, this is like your Hot Ones moment where he says,
yeah.
"Oh, you've done the gauntlet, and now this camera, and this camera. Tell people what you got going on." So a challenge. Say that again. A challenge about.
Give him a
what's
challenge.
The challenge? Okay.
There's a lot of men watching this. Just give them a challenge. Give them, some type of, it can be just a word, a motivating word, whatever you want to do. I mean, this is your call.
Okay. Well, I think I was thinking about it with the holiday season is just being intentional with your time. And it's really easy. There's times when I'm sitting on the couch and I'm working on my social media, and then my wife's on her phone and she's getting all the kids like wish lists ready for Christmas, and maybe the kids have already gone to bed, but even when they're awake, being there with them. Like I've got two boys that like last night were both wanting to sit on my lap, and they were fighting over who got to sit on my lap, and I could have just said, yeah, I'm working on something, and I was like, this is pretty cool that they're fighting over me. I know it won't always be the case. And so I really enjoyed that moment where I had one on my lap and one I could put my arm around. And then that time when I've got some time alone with my wife and I was like, she's working on her thing, I'm working on my thing. And we need to set aside a little bit of time where we're just talking or we're just hanging out together and we're not doing our own things. Cause that felt kind of like our old life a little bit where we were both doing our own thing. And so just being intentional and don't let time get away from you, and put in that time with your kids, with your wife, and be the man that they need.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a good word. I think guys will be challenged by that, and I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you coming on. I enjoy what you guys are doing, and I think you are encouraging and motivating a lot more people than what you realize, and I know I appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate that you think I'm worthy enough to be on Be a Man podcast.
Oh yeah, man.
Didn't know what I showed you that thought I should be on there, but I really appreciate it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think, part of what I'm trying to do is give every man that wants to come on or, I invite on an opportunity to just encourage other men to be better men, because I think the thing I'm starting to realize is there's a lot more like-minded men out there, and it's easy to just think you're in it alone, that there's not somebody else to kind of have your back, or there's not somebody else going through the fight as well. But I mean, we're in a battle. I mean, not just for manhood, but I mean, you guys are believers, so there's a spiritual battle going on there too. And it's just easy to get depressed, to get overwhelmed by it all. And guys are going to be encouraged to hear that there's other people, they're in the fight, they're doing their thing, they're persevering through the hard times. And that's exactly what you have shared this evening. And man, I'm encouraged by it. I am, and I think other people will be too. So I appreciate you, Jake.
Well, thank you. I appreciate being on.
Yeah. Yeah.